We are recording.
All right, welcome everybody. Number 11 already. All right. Town hall number 11. And I'm Keith, the founder of Republic. I kind of talk like this because there might be people watching this on YouTube later or whatever, but make it a little more formal. But I like to start things up by just going around, giving quick hello, and then give people a chance to put anything on the radar to talk about if they want to. So Eric, do you want to kick us off?
Sure. So I met Keith through, I guess originally through another DAO, and then through Journo DAO, where we're co-founders. And just since there's some overlap, I think philosophically and both practically with Republic, I am here too, and just interested in the tools that are being built, and in just yeah, I guess data sovereignty, data independence, whatever the buzz phrase is that you want to use.
Cool, thanks. And I just remembered I'm trying out this Slido app, which lets people just kind of enter in questions or vote on other people's questions. And I thought it probably wouldn't be useful unless we had like a certain number of people, but I was just using it in a pretty small Twitter Spaces yesterday, and I just found it useful. Like sometimes people are talking and it like gets me thinking, and even just if it's just for me putting stuff in there, then we like know what to come back to or whatever, even if it's not like pertinent to the conversation. So that's in the chat. Ivan, you want to give us a little bit of intro?
Yeah, well, my name is Ivan, based in London, and I'm a marketing person. So I've been creative director and head of brand for the past 12 years, mostly for kind of tech startups and tech companies and outsourcing companies. But I'm not into any kind of programming. Came from traditional advertising, was doing McDonald's advertising and like banks and FMCG stuff. So this is my passion. On the other side, I'm doing lots of sports recently for the past probably 5-6 years, and the idea, which is in the chat that I have, is basically combining these two. I'm trying to market sports and make it accessible for everyone, because what happens now is the platforms that are kind of selling you watch or selling you kind of subscriptions to record your sports activities, they actually store this data, and whatever, if you want to show your half marathon personal best to somebody, and then if their server is down, then you just don't basically own your personal best. It just sounds ridiculous to me. So I was discovering the kind of the blockchain technology for some time, and then it's kind of the use cases are so many for that, and this just sounds super easy for me and sounds super logical and kind of the new wave, and that's why I'm here.
Awesome. That's like right up our alley. I think we're all in the same boat there. It doesn't make any sense to us either, but that's just how it is. We're trying to make it different. It's great to have you. I think we'll talk about Beatnium later on. Emery, do you want to just give an intro, say how you're doing, want to talk about anything?
Hey, I'm Emre. I am community builder at Data Union DAO. And yeah, just here to see if we can do something together.
Cool. Anything you want to cover today, or any announcements or anything?
No, just excited to see what you guys think about Beatnium, and also I missed the last 2 calls. Maybe it would be lovely to have like a recap if that's possible.
Yeah, totally. Let's do that. Hey Summit, how's it going?
Good. How are you, Keith?
Pretty good. Yeah. Anything you want to discuss today?
Yeah, I would just like to do a time check in terms of the year. So we're heading into the tail end of 2022, and maybe just sort of zoom out for a minute and talk about the remainder of this year, and maybe a little bit think about where we might like to go in 2023.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Okay. Cool. Well, Ivan, since I kind of want to maybe start with Beatnoom, and then we can, unless you'd rather hear a little bit more about Republic and how that might help Beatnoom.
I kind of made my research and read some stuff on the internet, so I kind of understand how this works.
Okay.
Well, I understand the idea, so I
Cool.
don't know how this works yet, but then I understand what's behind the overall kind of philosophy of that.
Cool. Well, I'll just give you the background. Like the past few weeks, we've kind of, like, Strava's been like an example that we like throw around a lot.
Mhm.
I don't know if you know them, but so I think like sports and like physical like health data is like definitely one that we're kind of excited about tackling first. It's kind of like, as we build out this platform, we're kind of deciding like both based on like our personal interests, you know, what stuff would we like to see first. And so it was
Mhm.
cool to see Beatnoom pop up. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about it and like the experience you're hoping to create?
Yeah. So what happens is everyone doing sports uses Strava at some point. This is kind of the most popular platform there. It's like basically it's a social media. They've started as a social media, and this is something that it on one side it's kind of motivates the way they store the results and all your activities is made in a way that you want to kind of show off. You know, it's like basically Instagram for sports people. You show off your results instead of showing images of what you eat. Is you show how fast you run, how how often you run, how far, in what kind of cool places. Sometimes people really do runs or cycling or swimming, whatever, just to put it on Strava. So there's a saying like, if it's not on Strava, it never happened. So I know lots of sportsmen who never run without like watches or without any trackers, because first of all, Strava has your activity for the year. They have this kind of very cool animation at the end of the year for each sports person, like, here's your overlook of the year. This is how many miles you ran. This is like how often, how many days a year you were active, and how many Everest you've climbed. This is it's a motivational tool. It's very powerful. Many people actually do activities just to be on Strava on one side. On the other hand, the way they kind of trick you into this and then try to show you the subscription, which is actually not giving you anything. Like, the subscription is just, it's like an online coach, which is not even an online coach. I mean, I've tried the subscription twice for 2 months, and I have like a personal coach, and I use Garmin coach. I use like other more, let's say, sophisticated software for that. But then what they do is they kind of build this social network, and then they just say, we have all your data already. Why move to Garmin, to Nikon, to like Runtastic, anything? If you have everything here, just pay us. I don't know. It's like, I think it's $15.99 a month, which is enormous money for what they are actually selling for their money. And in terms of data, the way they treat, like, what all you can do is you can see your personal best on one side, and you can compare it to other people. This is very powerful tool, like the comparison. Like, you find the athlete, the first you click on the athlete, and there's like a table straight away. Okay, this is my personal best, this is his, and you can see if they're legit, if they are kind of if they're recorded in the right way, I would say. So, and this is the kind of, it's a big part of this kind of social media thing. And this actually gave me the idea of like creating, well, it started with like creating NFTs of your results, like basically writing them on, creating like the art pieces of, and kind of storing them forever, your results, because this is something I mean, for people do sports for different reasons, but personal births would be always there. If you are more or less consistent, you will always be thinking about, okay, how fast can I do 10K? How, what's my longest ride on a bike? I'm doing triathlon, so what's my triathlon, for Olympic distance, for the half Ironman? And you always are about this, recording this things. Even if I do like official half marathons, I don't really care what's my chip time is, like how fast did I actually run. All I rely on is like what's on Strava, what's my result on Strava. And this result, this number is, for me, well, maybe it's kind of personal, it's pretty precious, because it shows dedication, it shows hard work, it shows a lot of suffering and pain, and it's a precious number. It's like, I know I'm not the fastest person in the world, and I will never be, and I will never kind of be one of the elite runners, but this is like better than myself yesterday. So I was thinking, okay, if this number is precious, why people like Strava they have it? Why they store it on their servers, on, they say, cloud, and there is no way I can kind of save it? And it just kind of, I don't know, moved me to, and this was basically, I think I came up with this like half a year with like big NFT boom. Everyone was saying like, I did a couple of projects myself, not crazy successful, but kind of gave me the idea how everything works and how it can be used apart from just creating images and trying to sell them somehow. And yeah, so that's the story. I don't know, it's
Cool. No, I feel like this is a very concrete like use case that I think Re-Public is kind of a generalized, or I'm hoping at least it's like a generalized platform, so that these like experiences that you're talking about can be built on top of it. But then also, like movie watching data or whatever. You're interested in like your running performance, but then other people are interested in like, I don't know, the safety of their driving or like whatever, So I think I'm hoping that we can like kind of manifest all those types of things. But Phil, I think you had your hand up earlier, and you're more of a runner and an athlete than I am. So do you want to wait?
No, I just wanted to say hi. I hadn't introduced myself.
Oh,
I'm
I'm
Phil.
sorry. Yeah.
No worries, Keith. But yeah, I'm Phil. I was an elite cyclist for quite some time, and now I just mostly run. And yeah, I'm a data contributor to the Republic, and I do community management at a company called Pool Data. And I guess we all connect on the same topic. I'm also really passionate about how to solve the issues around personal data. But yeah, thanks for joining, Ivan. I'm really grateful. That's something I think Summit and I have been talking a lot on these calls recently. So it's nice to have a concrete example of what the solution could look like.
Well, I think of myself as a storyteller. So I mean, I've been doing advertising, not anything to do with data orientation. So I can kind of be the person who can find the insight and find the pain point in people, and then kind of fill this gap in terms of the need of the good story, and kind of conception.
Yeah, awesome.
Hey,
Um,
just so
ahead.
that everybody can keep it very crisp and visual in their minds, this is my Strava data that I downloaded on August 2nd, and you can see everything
Yeah.
that Strava knows about me. Shoes, who am I friends with, which routes have I liked, all of my activities are in a CSV file, and some of this stuff is human readable. In totality, it's a lot, and so it's not easy to parse through, trivial for software to parse through, reasonably well structured. You could imagine an app developer being able to make a lot of use of this data and fulfill a lot of the things you're talking about, Ivan. One thing that I'm really passionate about is helping everybody realize that we're much closer to users being able to access their data than we might think. By law, thanks to the EU, most of the biggest services, and the bigger the services, the more likely this is to be true, already offer a huge amount of user data to individual users. This is not trivially accessible on a third-party basis through a developer API. And if you use APIs, there are massive constraints in terms of the terms of
Hmm.
service and the usage rights of the data. But if you go in as the user, there are no terms of service. It's your data. You can do whatever you want with it. And it's all the data. So we are much closer to being able to unlock a lot of this value than it might otherwise seem.
I know I've downloaded this kind of, well, I know that by law I should be able to get all the information, but as I said, I have nothing to do with anything of like tech side. I'm really bad with my phone, so and I don't know this, and it is like undigestible for me. I mean, I understand what it kind of is and how this can be used, but to me, this kind of data, that it's just lots of files that my Mac shows that I don't kind of open. This data for me is just, I don't know, nonsense. It's
Oh, I wasn't suggesting that the
yeah,
folder
I
I
know.
showed is useful for users. I was pointing out that we, as the builders,
Yeah,
have the raw ingredients that we
yeah,
need to
yeah.
turn
Access.
gobbledygook into something that would be appealing to users. No, I wouldn't imagine any user needing to ever look at that. That was useless. That's like if you
Yes.
go to a restaurant and you go into the kitchen in the back, you lose your appetite. You're not meant to go back there.
Well, that what really stuck out to me, Ivan, was that when you said the Garmin versus like Strava thing, because that's
Hmm.
where I feel like the win is for Republic is basically giving you those dashboards, but making it doesn't matter where the data comes from, right? Like you can
Yes.
compete against people who wear Garmin watches or Apple watches or whatever, as long as there's like the same metrics coming
How
back.
how data is shown or perceived is super important. Like let's say Whoop. Whoop collects same data as Garmin collects, but the way they show this data and how they use it and show that like the simplicity, the graphs, the outcomes, that it basically same stuff that Garmin does, but Garmin shows lots of complicated things because it's for like professional athletes, they say so. But Whoop is like for everyone, and Whoop shows they just analyze it differently. Same data, they analyze it differently and sell it for totally different money and in different way. And basically, everyone records the same data. It's just how you use it and how you show it.
Mhm.
So yeah, I've compared all of these services, and they're all different and they're all ugly in a way.
Right. But it's like their value add is almost like that UI component, right? Like
Yes,
um,
mostly
the data
marketing.
should really just be with you, but then if Strava or Garmin wants to like design a really like cool like dashboard of your data or
Mm,
whatever, then they should have to compete on that usefulness of like the dashboard rather than like, well, I control your data, so you have to go with my dashboard or something, right? So I'm thinking
yes.
it makes more sense
Well,
to start with your data, and then you can use the Garmin dashboard, you can use the Strava dashboard, you can use was it Whoop or whatever.
yes.
Yeah, because everyone's going to want to view their data differently, and so that, I think, the only way you can really facilitate that kind of choice
Hmm.
is by having the data be outside of those products, as it should be,
Mhm.
like on a principle that it should be with you anyway, but that actually enables a lot more competition on,
Well,
you know,
none of these platforms want you to own the data. I mean, because they just lose you as a client, as a,
right.
as a
It's just like capture.
slave.
Yeah.
Everyone is hilarious.
Yeah.
Stop paying them.
Yeah. And we're
Actually, I think we
basically,
should start paying them. Like, I think that would be the solution. Like, if their services, instead of being free, like a free ad behavior modifying model would be one where you'd actually pay for the service.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it just bothers me that the strategy for when that's your business model and that's your product, your strategy then becomes like building the walls higher so to keep
Mm.
your users in, because you need to monetize them, because the subscription fee is maybe some of the revenue, but there's like a whole data operation going on, and that's why they don't want you to access it. So they obviously they have a data business as well as their subscription business. Yeah, Emily.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Cool. I was thinking maybe we could do like the thing that Summit suggested about looking at the end of the year. And then I added a question into this poll tool. Maybe we can dive into that afterwards. Like, I'm really curious about, can we like get data from Strava? How can we use that for Re-Public? How can we, I have a lot of questions, and I would love to maybe start digging in some of those if that's possible. I see Eric also has his hands up. Go for it.
Yeah, hopefully my bandwidth will stay working. I won't have to turn off the video. So I have like so many thoughts because I am like kind of a slave to Strava. I've been paying them like annually for like five years now, because you get all this coaching data, and then like I mean, it's literally just like a couple of numbers, but then like you don't want to lose it, and you're totally like trapped.
Oh, what's that
I
watch,
can
by the way?
What's that? This is a Garmin, actually.
Okay.
And it's funny. So I have like all the Garmin data and all the Strava. It's ridiculous. I can answer Emery's question about getting data from Strava. Like, it's hard, but they have a program where they were actually trying at one point. They actually had a program where they were trying to work with municipalities to like provide them data to like create better information about like recreation infrastructure, and it was like seemed like largely a marketing thing. But I'm like pretty involved in like mountain biking and trail running community here. Our organization actually manages one of the main epic big ride trails in the forests. We have an agreement with National Forest Service. And so like I think there's actually another opportunity here just from like struggles that we've had. And those struggles are, Strava, in addition to aggregating all your personal data, it takes all the data from all your rides and runs and whatever to like aggregate these heat maps, and then like trying to figure out where the trails are, where the cool routes are. Some of them are labeled, and then sometimes that's crowdsourced, sometimes it's an algorithm, and then there's like problems with the heat map that we've discussed. But the specific issues we've run into like locally is it's funny, like people will like start to ruin the trails to improve their Strava times. Like we've seen this on bike trails around here, where you have a nice like flowy bike trail that like kind of winds around and you've got some nice curves, and people will just go straight down the middle of the fucking thing and like ruin it and like and then that creates erosion and like actually ruins the trail. there's other trails around here. Actually, some of the best trails around here are actually illegal. But there's kind of like a detente with the property owners where it's like, look, you can use our trails as long as it's just locals and you keep it quiet. So we're like forever like, you know, going on to Strava and being like, you have to make this ride public, and then you like can't put this ride to Strava because you're gonna ruin it for everybody. And then there's other rides on other apps where it's like mislabeled. People say it's a beginner trail when it's really an expert trail, and vice versa. So all this is like, there seems like a really interesting, and we've, you know, and communicating with Strava and the platforms to try to correct some of these problems is like a disaster. And we tried to sign up for that program that I mentioned where they were working with municipalities, but we're too small of a municipality, they didn't care. So like, I mean, there's, if there were a way for, you know, the data to be on chain and like better controlled and managed, like in a community and decentralized way, where like in terms of the trail and route data, it can be organized, you know, by community, even if like the community, I don't know, I mean, I could even see like building your own like local platform or something. So anyway, that's just another, I'm just sitting here listening to this and my mind is kind of exploding because there's kind of another angle, I think, beyond the user data to actually community stewardship of the trail and route data that's produced as a result.
Yeah, well, maybe I can glue this together and ask Summit to talk through actually how you get this data, because something it occurs to me that I think while you can get all that data, you just did the one download, right? Or have you been going back and updating it?
I just did the one. I mean, I could manually do it every day, every hour. I mean, it's arbitrary. Like I wouldn't, you know,
Okay.
in software, we could do it as often as we wanted.
And how long does it take? Like if
I
you're doing
remember it was,
manually?
oh, manual. I mean, you know, it takes like 5 minutes just to click the buttons,
Hmm.
and then it sends you an email, and then you have to fetch the email. So you'd need OAuth into somebody's email, and you'd be able to kind of hunt for that file. Um,
Yeah,
but I have kind of dug into it. It's all automatable.
it is. Yeah, do you want to talk about it a little bit?
Well, sure. I mean, you can let's just use web for a minute. Mobile's like a little bit harder, but let's just use web because I did it on web. You can have a browser plugin that is able to log in as if it's the user without asking for user's username or password. If the user has given permission, and the user, by the way, is not really giving permission for some third party to have the data. This is a browser plugin in your browser on your computer that downloads your data. So the notion of permission is a little bit, maybe not fully perfect. It's implicit that you want to do this for yourself. Okay, so you've downloaded the browser plugin. If you just allow the browser plugin, let's just say you say go, and it's going to log in once every 24 hours. Once you have logged into Strava, there's a session cookie or an auth token that's in the browser. And at that point, the browser plugin can go into Strava as if it's you at any time arbitrarily. Let's say it goes in every day at 6 o'clock. It's going to navigate to strava.com/whatever, download data. It's going to skip past all the noise of the user. For the user, by the way, you have to click through all these scary buttons that say like delete your account or download your data. It's like tucked away under account deletion, which I think is on purpose. And the software is not going to care about the scary messages. It's going to go straight to that link, which you can hit. It's going to click the button. I think there were a couple of drop downs, but it wasn't very hard. It was 2 or 3 UI elements that are very easy to automate because you can just address them directly in the DOM. And you can just say, okay, this is the value, this is the one that I want. So you virtually fill out the form in software, and then you just hit submit, and that's it. Now, separately, you have to have, if you were doing this in software entirely to automate it on behalf of the user, separately connect to the user's email account via OAuth, and you can have read-only access, and you're just looking for that one message from Strava that has the attachment, and then the software can access that file out of email. And at that point, you've got effectively a recurring way to get that updated file. Let's just pretend once a week, as far as I'm concerned, would be sufficient to get started. You could do once a day if you wanted.
And then the download's a complete download each time, right? So you'd have to like diff it to find the new stuff, or do they just give you the delta of your last download?
They give you everything, but once, like if you look at this here, let me open this up for you again. if you look at this that I'm about to share, if I can share it, hold on, there we go. Okay, so you can see this folder. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so all we would care about, I think, are these activities in activities folder or activities.csv. All this other stuff, I mean, we'd have to parse through every one of these files and understand what's in it the first time around, but I would
Mhm.
submit that 98% of these are not terribly useful. The ones that are useful are the ones that would have the most recent run that you did, because you have the backlog of however many you downloaded the first time. So
Mhm.
in effect, Keith, even though they aren't giving us the diff, I think we could have a pretty efficient way of giving ourselves the diff.
Yeah, it's totally doable. I'm just curious, like if they tracked like your downloads or whatever.
I'm guessing that they would take notice if lots of users were downloading this on a regular basis. But the
Yeah.
question is, what would they do? Would they put up a CAPTCHA? Would they put up other kind of anti-automation capabilities? That would become a little bit of an arms race, and they wouldn't have a very good leg to stand on to say, hey, we want this here so long as nobody knows it's here and so long as nobody uses it. But if anybody's actually using it, we don't like it anymore.
Yeah. No, I think that'd be really interesting just to force that confrontation. So um I think it's definitely worth trying. I put in the question, but I'll just ask you now. Maybe Eric and Ivan, Phil, you could weigh in on this. Is it useful to do this in an automated way if it's not real time? Like how much does like real time factor into it, like from a usability standpoint? And in Summit, what's your take on how close to real time you could get with this without like alerting Strava to your
Well,
weird behavior?
well, people don't like run whole day. They run 5, maximum 7 times a week. So I don't think that this needs to be really super fluent in terms of kind of data recording. So I don't know, like twice a week or once a week, I think is more than kind of enough to get the full image.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I find this type of data actually interesting because there's no, it's not like real time. You fetch it once a day. You have everything you need. Like you won't do more. Usually, like you'll do probably like an activity daily or 2 max. So then if you're fetching that daily, every night, you're getting pretty much everything. I feel like there's that much of a need for real time data for Strava.
Okay, good. And have you already started building this, or is this just like a concept?
Oh no, I haven't built anything on this. I've been playing around with that. I've also been playing around with Amazon data, which you can download as well in similar fashion. And I'm actually right at the point now of wanting to start working on a visualization. It actually doesn't matter what you start with, Strava, Amazon, Google, like they're all interesting in different ways to different people for different purposes. I think the important thing is getting started so that we can iterate to things that would be valuable in different communities. Because here's the thing, right? There are passionate users in every community, some of whom are developers, builders, marketers, UI designers, and what you want to do is get their juices flowing and ideating. So I think our job is to really throw out seeds, and some of them will take and some of them won't. So I'm very relaxed and kind of, I don't know, sloppy is not quite the right word, but like, I don't think it matters. I think what's important is just getting started and then giving people nice, visually appealing things to look at because that's what gets their ideas flowing. So yeah, I've
Mhm.
got multiple data sets that I've got kind of queued up on my machine, and I'm getting ready to get serious about several of them where you just do like the most basic, not very creative, quantified self, like the most of X, the least frequent of Y, like the biggest of Z. It doesn't matter. It's like literally just the superlatives.
Mhm. But I know you have your own project going. Do you actually have developers like working on any of this, or is it just kind of you doing research at this point?
We're trying to get one of these. We have one developer right now, and we're trying to get one of these done, probably focused on visualizing Amazon data because you can get all the Amazon data out. Would
Mhm.
it be interesting if I just pulled up that screen for 1 second just so everybody could see it?
Yeah.
Okay, let me just take 1 second and get that going. No, wrong one. But I think it would be surprising potentially how easy it is to get your Amazon data. Okay, I'm logged in here. Let me show this screen, share screen. Let's do this window. Okay, so everybody should be able to see my Amazon screen. And I'm logged in. So you just go to B2B/reports. And here is one of two different Amazon data export functionalities. This is the lighter weight of the two. This one is just what you have bought, returned, rated, reviewed, and it only has 4 little UI components. So the first one is you can choose between items, orders, returns, and refunds. You can just do items. Then you can just do a from date, and we don't want it to run for too long, so we'll just do the beginning of this year, Jan 1, 2022. You can hit use today for today's date, and you can just say test report on rep call. You can name it if you want, you don't have to. Then you hit request, and that's it. So you can see down here at the bottom of the screen that the status is processing. It usually takes about 60 seconds or less to run a 1-year report. And you can go all the way back to 2008. I don't know why it doesn't support earlier than 08, but I have experimented with going back to 08 and that seems to work. It does take a long time to run and sometimes crashes. And that's it. They'll email you a report to your email and they will give you a direct download link here at the bottom of the screen. And you can just download this. And there it is. You can see the CSV is over there in my downloads folder. So this is also, just like the Strava data, pretty gettable. It's much easier in Amazon than it is in Strava. There are more clicks for the user in Strava.
That's cool. I'm doing it myself as you did that. Can't tell if it's done or not. Oh, yeah. Cool. And I think last time we talked about you maybe writing up a little module for people to do this themselves, like on the Discord server or something. Did you ever get any time to do that?
I did not, but I will definitely do that. I mean, as you can see, I have this stuff in my head, so I just need to write it down.
Yeah, no worries. That's awesome. Well, why don't we, I don't know, this is probably relevant to it, but you wanted to look at 2023 and the end of the year and stuff. Could talk like milestones, goals, any of that stuff. I haven't really anchored any of my like mental roadmap to specific dates or anything, but so I'd be curious, like,
well,
what
I
other
think
people
that
would like to do.
if we can at least debate and discuss some goals, then we can kind of work backwards. I think right now we have been moving forward using one framework, and I'm asking whether we can adopt a different framework. The framework we're currently in is with what we have, what can we get done? And I think we're getting a lot done for a very, very small and lean team. But I wonder if, and this dovetails into my second question that I put in the chat, if we set some goals that don't start with the constraints of what we currently have, but are, we think attainable goals, then we sort of say, okay, what do we need in order to hit those attainable goals? So I think it would be nice to have one data source, one visualization, and one use case that is appealing to one community so that we can get into I think of it like concentric circles. Like right now we have one concentric circle, which is people who are so passionate about this that they have found their way to your Discord and they participate with you. That's a small circle in the very middle, like 10, 20 users. The next concentric circle, and then the next and the next. I think getting a couple of circles out to like a few thousand, let's just use the Strava example for a minute. People who don't really care about the philosophy, they're not rah-rah Web3, they're not rah-rah data, they just want some value. Like, I think that that's a very useful place to spend a little bit of our time because those are in some ways unforgiving users. The vision and the philosophy are not relevant to them. The question is, do you give me something useful that's worth 5 minutes of my time? And I think that's a good place to spend time learning. So I would submit for just discussion that one goal could be trying to get, 500 users in any community that this group cares about, whether it's sports or commerce or media, fashion, music, doesn't matter. Pick one, pick a data source, and then go kind of put out a value proposition that's interesting for that community, and then see what users think.
Mhm. Well, yeah, I mean, to me, I think we have it. Like, we got a bunch of Strava users on the call. I know additional Strava users, like you've already, done the work of figuring out how to get the data and how to automate it. So like that seems, I don't know, Ivan, Phil, Eric, would you be like, say we had like this visualization, would you be down to like go and get people who use Strava and try and get some both feedback and just users?
Yes.
I mean, yeah, there's listservs that I can spam that to for sure.
And also, Keith, like it would be useful for me. Like it's like a great start point. You've got like 4 people, like almost 100% of the people on the call would like derive value from this.
Yeah.
So do I need to start running to use Strava or like?
No, we can just record anything like car drives, and just pretend this is cycling super fast.
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe Emery and I can be the interoperability people, where like we have some other stuff and we try and like funnel it into like the Strava visualization, but not with like strictly Strava data. That might be interesting. I don't know, Ivan, what do you think?
Well, I already spoke to like trying to figure out the pain points. This is interesting. Like we always have this kind of split between people, like let's say people. I'm not talking about like Web3 people. I'm talking like people who understand the value of internet, like the actual network and the tools on the internet. These are people who get the idea of owning your results straight away. You don't need to explain. You say, okay, now your Garmin or your Strava owns this data. If they go somewhere, you lose your numbers. And this is like, oh, I don't want this to happen. People understand the value straight away. There are people that the kind of, I don't want to say old fashioned, but they think this is, they don't understand the value of data it's all. Like they don't understand how the whole world is working, and it's probably not our kind of target audience. But the more the time goes, the less people like these they are. There's everyone is talking about like how data is like the new currency and everything. Like it's been there for decades now. So yeah, I've spoke to everyone who used Strava among my friends, and most all of them understand the idea. They're like straight away clients. You don't need to explain this once again and sell it to them somehow.
Mm-hmm. Well, if we could work on getting the data, would you want to help like design the experience? Yes. and kind of like the UI of it and everything?
Sure.
Okay, cool.
And Ivan, just out of curiosity, is BeatNoom just a website for now, or there's technical work that's been already done?
This is all there is there for now.
Cool. Perfect.
All the nice UI images were just made by me in a couple of hours. And I was surprised that the website was, I don't know, like nobody bought this domain before. I mean, what part of my job is looking for cool names and registering the cool names, and there's like it's pretty hard to find the domain, which is .com, and costs like $15 a year and has what 6 or 7 letters.
Yeah,
I was like, well, okay.
Yeah. Nice.
I think it's cool also, Keith, because like one of the challenges we've had up to now, not a challenge, but I mean like we've been wanting to do some like branding or, you know, changing a bit the image. And now we've got Keith, you know how to code. Ivan, you've built this beautiful website with a short, efficient URL. I think we have the recipe for success.
Totally. So, Summit, what else do we need to articulate? Do you think before we can like work backwards on a timeline?
I think we can start with the end. Like maybe we just work on a sketch, like really light wireframes, not HTML, not pixel perfect, but just laying out what we want the end result to be from a normal consumer's point of view. And then we can say, okay, these are the three fundamental capabilities. One is, and I'm just making this up, right? Obviously, the group will help decide all this, but just to make it up for the sake of conversation. One is you can visualize your Strava data. The second is that you can integrate your Strava data with one other source like Garmin. Let's just pick one arbitrarily. And the third one is you can see a list of the friends that you have both on Strava and on Garmin. I'm just making this up, right? Okay, so those are the three basic features. Then that turns into a product specification, which says, okay, we need on a platform, we'd have to choose a platform. So either mobile or desktop computer, maybe Mac, maybe Chrome, whatever it may be. We need to be able to access that data from those two sources. And then we would work backwards into engineering. So I would see it as three distinct phases. End user, basically marketing requirements document, consumer facing, and then the product requirements that stem from that, and then the engineering workload that stems from that. I think those three things would allow us to scope whether we think we could get that done this year or early next year or whatever the case may be. And that might also help us say, hey, if we added one person here, we could probably get this done by X date.
Well, in terms of an end users thing, it's for most users, like the amount of data taken from Strava is not a value. The value is like the kind of the personal best things. It's like a small section on Strava in your profile. So I think this will be like the for end user, for like usual people, this will be the most kind of precious things to parse. Maybe everything else is more useful to, I don't know, to people who use data in different ways. But for people, this is looking as a selling point for normal people like me. It would be actually saving your personal bests and not all the data you get from Strava.
I think that's totally fine. I'm not sort of saying it should or shouldn't be any one thing. I think that we can iron out what we want that to be. And it sounds like you maybe are either volunteering or being volunteered by Philippe to be kind of the notional owner of that. So let's like sketch that out. You put down your ideas, or we can have a separate meeting away from this meeting where a smaller group sort of just lays out. It can be pencil and pen on a piece of paper, or it can be boxes in a slide that just says, look, this is roughly what it ought to look like. And then we can just agree that, you know, that's the data that we need in order to do that. We don't need to worry about the rest of the data. Like, I think we should downscope it to something that's very simple, that has one value proposition that's clear, and not worry about being too broad. So if it's like simply personal bests across multiple sources, look, I like that. Nice, simple, tactical.
Yeah, same Summit. I think just going down like the MVP approach, trying to do like one thing, achieving that small goal pretty quick, having something out there, iterating things. So now it's deciding basically what do we want.
Yeah, it sounds awesome. Yeah, I'm happy to ride along, and it does seem like we need that the end goal that the user is actually going to see before I can kind of start digging my teeth into it. But I see, I mean, it looks like some of the UI here is based on NFTs, which might be part of the story, but are you okay with just basically like recreating your ideal, like personal best like screen or whatever? Okay.
I have a question for Ivan. Have you had the experience of a platform changing in some way, going out of business, changing its business practices, whatever the case may be, that caused you to lose access to your own data?
First of all, Garmin and Strava are super unstable. Like, let's say I use Garmin with my personal coach, and he writes me stuff every day. So I just download this from Garmin to my Garmin watch, and let's say 15% of time I am not able to do this because Garmin is down, because like this data part is, they have different messages and like why they're suffering and then what's happening. And this means I have to either make it manually, like to put it like my 13, 15 steps workout into my watch or from my mobile phone, from my watch directly. So, and Strava is like, I don't know, twice a month it's out. So it's not like it was out for a long day, but when I see the message like the Strava is available, you know, there's no reach, it kind of gives me this insecure feel that, okay, if this happens, it can happen, you know, sometime in the future. It can happen like forever. You know, what happens to Strava in 2 years? I have no idea. Maybe it goes down like Facebook. Finally. Please.
Give me my data out first. And good.
Yes.
I know it's almost like I started off this journey going super hardcore in privacy and seeing like how isolated I could make myself. And now I've gone towards like almost recommending that people just like use all the apps, so at least the data's out there, and then with the idea that like later on you can like get it from those companies, like pull it back and actually use it for yourself at some point. Because then if you just like cut yourself off from everything, then you're going to have these years where like potentially you might have valuable or interesting data that you can't actually recreate or anything.
So using these platforms as they kind of writing machines, you know, for yourself, like storing stuff instead of not storing.
Yeah.
Ivan, I do, you know what, the more I think about it, the more I do like the personal best, like as a first step, like the personal best approach. Because when I think about it, most of my personal bests, they're all on Strava, most of my like running PBs. So then if anything, like I always have to go to Strava if I want to see them.
Yes.
And then like if I often want to delete Strava, but then I don't do it, it's because, you know, my PBs are my personal bests are there, but they're also there in a way I can see them and visualize them. So then if I leave the platform, I lose that. And then I'm stuck with the file that Summit was showing us that I can't really get like, you know, I can't get insights from the CSV file probably if I look at it.
Yes. So it says in my video, like your personal bets are, you know, it says personal. So they're kind of supposed to be yours, but they're not in a way.
And Ivan, quick question for you. In terms of writing the personal best to the blockchain, is that a specific decision or choice that you made for a specific product or technical reason, or just one convenient option? And just to give the alternative that I have in mind, you could just write those to Google Drive. You could write those to Dropbox. Like storage is storage. Like as long as it's not tied to the platform provider. Was there a particular end goal that you had in mind in choosing to write them as NFTs to the blockchain?
Yes. So basically, it's the difference between, for me personally, as a non kind of technical person, to me, as we talk about like something precious as a sports results, like personal bests. So to me, having your personal best as an NFT versus storing it on a Google Drive is same as having like an NFT or downloading JPEG of this NFT and just showing this off my, I don't know, desktop, saying, oh, I've saved the image. So there's a difference between in the feel, like basically the big part of this, let's say, sport for some people is flexing with your results, and flexing only involves the ownership, and ownership means that something that can be proven. If it's
Right.
proven, let's say somewhere written, like on Strava, I mean, I can basically Photoshop Strava, but I mean, this would make me a very bad person. But having some legit place that this result is stored makes it valuable. If it's
Got
just
it.
like written somewhere in a paper, or I mean, I can tell my personal best. They're so shit. I mean, I wouldn't flex them, but I mean, still, I can tell them. You can believe me or not believe me, but then when you see them in a proper place, let's say specially designed for that kind of place, it gives them this kind of nice feel. I don't know if this makes any sense, but for story it does. For kind of purpose and reason it does. Technically, there is no difference, I think.
Good,
Cloud
thank you.
or blockchain, there's no difference. But then,
Well, can I take that as a jumping off point to kind of blow up the scope of this? Like, I'm on board with the scope that we've already outlined, but like I've been thinking about this other stuff all week, and this kind of ties into that, because I did a tutorial on like dynamic NFTs, like NFTs that can like update their image data like on chain to like represent like new data, and and kind of like what you're getting at, Ivan, is like what's the authority that where this data is, and can it be trusted? It's like, oh yeah, I could have just photoshopped it, like what's the thing? And so that kind of led me down the road of like oracles. Have you heard of this term, decentralized oracles or whatever? And so there's this company Chainlink that Phil and I were talking about it earlier. So Phil, let me know if I'm not explaining it as well as I did, but you can it's basically taking these open APIs or like a data source, and then verifying it through like a network of people who all are incentivized to tell the truth about it. And so, and these are used for like smart contracts to, you know, potentially funnel like millions and billions of dollars around. So they have to be like agreed upon, like pretty trusted sources for these contracts. It's like, well, if, you know, we're talking about like the weather, like if the weather in London is 70 degrees, then these people get like $50 million. If it's below 70 degrees, these people get 50 million. So that like the source of that 70 degrees like has to be super trusted. And so Chainlink builds these like groups of nodes, let's say like 30, that are all pinging like various weather APIs, like not just one, and they're all running this algorithm and checking in with each other about the readings that each one's getting. And then the algorithm that they run like puts out a very credible number, because if anyone's like a bad actor in the system, then they lose out economically. So it's like these secure data oracles. And I think that there's a strong way for Re-Public to allow its users to contribute data to like all sorts of oracles. And this could be one like verified running data that it's verified, but it can also be anonymous. And the nice thing about Chainlink is they're implementing these kind of like zero knowledge proofs and all this technology that like I don't really want to handle. And like Re-Public, it's kind of like not core to the mission, but it's definitely something that we would want to use. So you could imagine a scenario where like you know, you have all your data managed by Re-Public, and then you can choose to like contribute your running or biking data to like a personal oracle or something that can verify that like, yes, you did this. And then that's like a trustable thing that you could then funnel into like a dynamic NFT or whatever is like the format that you want to like share it or prove it or whatever the social thing is.
It, it explains exactly how I thought it would be.
Okay, awesome. And the cool part about Chainlink is they're like offering grants, and I think this is like a novel use case that they probably haven't heard. And then B, it's like they already kind of have this economy set up where every time somebody like pings the Oracle to get the verified piece of data, then the Oracle providers get paid. And so that can like trickle down to the data providers as well. So it's just like an interesting concept. And Emery, Phil, and I were talking about it. This is kind of like a different take on the data unions, but I don't think it's like, there's not going to be one concept, right? Like there's going to be Chainlink, there's going to be data unions, there's going to be like maybe other stuff that we hadn't considered yet. And so I kind of view Re-Public as like giving users a window into that buffet of like options and trying to simplify it all down to like a value prop that they can like say yes or no to. If that makes sense.
Yeah, maybe we could put it to the agenda for the next call to like look at what are the technical requirements to make it happen, and then see if Chainlink is a viable solution, and then connect it with the grants. And then that would also answer Samet's other question regarding can we do some outreach for some development resources? Because if we get the grant, then we could allocate that to some person to dedicate some hours onto that. And then who knows, maybe we have a bigger picture on whether this is possible to like build, ship in the next month or the next quarter, before the next year. But then let's also look at all other options. There's a bunch of other grants. Maybe we are going to use any graph, and then there's the graph grants. And then let's just see what we can do.
Yeah, I don't know. The thing that we talked about, like I said, I think this is out of scope for what we talked about. So maybe it doesn't make sense to like try and get the Chainlink grant to try and get this off the ground, but that's just like larger picture. I've been thinking about that and researching it all week, and I just wanted to like give an update in that context. Like, not, this is definitely something that like I think being like providing data to oracles is definitely like in Re-Public's future. As I just like, once it clicked for me, I'm like, oh, this is all going to be super important. And then you go on Chainlink's site to see the kinds of oracles they have, and they have like three different kinds or whatever. They have a way to like bolt on any API to like a smart contract, and like attach a verification network to it. But their like data feed sources are kind of like manual, and there's just like not that many. It's mostly just like DeFi price streams and stuff.
I didn't fully understand the whole thing, to be honest. It's a bit too technical.
Oh yeah,
don't worry, I was in
didn't
the same
understand it for a long
situation
time.
not too long ago. But once you wrap your head around it, though, it does make a lot of sense. Yeah, because I think the good example was like they do let's say they have like 3 types of oracles. There's like weather data, market data, and sports data. So I think they're all for like betting purposes. Like the sports so basically like let's say those let's say there's 10 nodes there's 10 nodes, and then those 10 nodes verify that sport result is actually the real sport result. So then if you're on a decentralized betting exchange, for example, and then you're trying to see like trying to allocate who won the bet or not, well, then you go to those 10 nodes and you ask them like, what was the result of the sport? Like, what was the result of the football game? And then instead of having one computer that holds the truth, well, then you've got like a decentralized approach, whereas you've got like X amount of nodes. Then if they all agree, well, there's a high probability that that's actually the real result.
Okay, yeah. No, I didn't know they had more data outside of tokens.
Mhm. Yeah, it's
Pretty
like
cool.
and Phil kind of made me see this morning that it's like it's happening now, but it's kind of invisible because we just trust these like companies who have monopolized like the authority on, like, I don't know where you have to go, but I'm sure you have to like license somebody for like official NBA sports scores. Like if I was going to build an app that like had to display NBA sports scores, um, then I would have to like go and pay licensing to whoever like owns the official database that everyone agrees is like the official database. And then this is the new version where like not one person actually like owns that information. It's like it's extrapolated or extracted from like a variety of sources and verified by like a censorship resistant like group of people, and then delivered for a price. And that's like, I don't know, that seems a lot cleaner to me than just like letting people squat on real world information and make you like pay the toll for it.
The way I see it, I think, for example, going back to the PR, like personal best example, for now we can do our like, that's like the chain link is like the next level. Whereas like if you really want to have like, it's like the supreme proof of personal best, right? You've got like that decentralized like network of nodes that will prove that, oh well, Phil or Ivan's personal best is this. That's like, I think maybe like the next level of the vision.
Yeah, and maybe that ties into how Republic can actually make money in the future, is like developing those like premium like experiences or something. Like that takes a lot of extra development work, but maybe that's something that we could like charge for. And so like people can still like use most of Republic, but if they want like a dynamically updated NFT of like their running data or something, then like that's something that we can like charge for or whatever.
Well, I was thinking about like, the Bitnum monetization, how it makes money. And there is this, well, among, let's say, my friends, there's a certain amount of people who would be ready to secure the results and own them for a reasonable amount of money. Like, let's even a month, even if the storage is like the store, and you have to pay it as a storage. So you don't have to be like super, exquisite here to create something special. Actually storing them is already a value for some people, not maybe for everyone, but for some people who know how Web3 works and what's the philosophy behind, is already kind of a ready-made kind of business plan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was another revenue stream I was thinking of, is like let people bring their own like Google Drive, use, if they're already paying for storage somewhere and they're happy with that, we can encrypt the data and store it there for them. But for the people who don't have it and like run out of room on their device or whatever, then we have like an option that you can just like, you can do Republics, and it's like a little bit less friction, and there's like certain guarantees. Maybe we could like compete on price or something, but that would just be like an easy thing. Like we're already there. It's something that like a lot of users are going to need and not want to worry about, and so that would just be like an easy value add. That's like, I don't think anyone would fault us for like offering that as like a product. So.
I mean, as long as we don't have to sell ads on our platform, I think it's an iteration in the right direction.
Yeah, exactly.
So, well, it says on so like, I just was thinking like how many Strava users, like 9 million Strava users in United Kingdom only. So it's like 30% of the population.
Wow.
That's a lot of people use Strava.
Yes, I mean, I think maybe for next call we could dive down into more like what those goals will look like and when, like basically putting dates around what we'd like to achieve.
Sure, and maybe if the people that are working on these individual components are interested, we could do a call that's not at this time so that we can actually bring something to show for the next call.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm available for that. We can just schedule over Discord. Thanks, guys. I'll talk to you later.
All right.
Thank you
have a
so
good
much.
weekend.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
would be
think
down to help as well.
yeah.
Just delegate something to me, and I'm happy to like put some hours in.
Cool.
Same here. Same here.
Yeah,
And
nice to meet you all. It kind of feels nice.
yeah. And Ivan, I'm in the UK also, but you were saying 9 million users, 9 million Strava users in the UK.
Yes.
That's why I think there's so many Strava users in the world. You know, there's at least like, you know, there's a good chunk of people who are probably critical of Strava's practices and that whole bunch of users.
I think so.
Yeah.
Where in UK are you?
I'm in Bristol, so I'm
Oh.
not that far from London. Yeah.
Cool.
Well, Ivan, we've kind of like saddled you with
Yeah. Sorry about that, Ivan.
the bottleneck task of mocking up this UI. Do you want Emery to help, or is that something that you have time to do, or should we?
No. I have resources. It depends on like what will be the time frame. So, but I think it's all kind of doable. First of all, I have myself, and I have a team of designers in different parts of the world. I have the copywriter, and I have some kind of resources, and depending on the time given, I'll find a way to make that.
Yeah. Ivan, sorry for delegating you those tasks. I found there's a good fit because you know you don't have that technical. Well, you're looking for that technical knowledge that Keith has.
Well, yeah.
So I think there's a good there's a good synergy here.
Sure.
Yeah, I think timeline is like whatever's comfortable for you. I mean, I'm on this almost full time, so I can like move quickly on things, or just find other stuff to do while we wait or whatever. So
Okay.
I just have one question. So for you, Ivan, it was important that the data is owned by the user, and then the NFT came into place. But storing data with an NFT like is one way, but there's also like other ways of storing data on chain that don't require an NFT. I don't know if like the NFT in the first step would be too complicated or would add more complexity than storing it in different ways on chain. So I'm just trying to think what would be the easiest way from a technical perspective that's still on chain. And then see. Yeah.
So I use NFT as a kind of, let's say, visual narrative. For me, NFT, I don't understand the kind of the technical aspect of NFT. I understand how why it's non-fungible, but I also use it as a kind of the idea, the visual ideas of having something of your precious somewhere on the internet. I'm not talking about like how you actually create this NFT and how you mint it, what's the technical background. So pardon me if I use it in the wrong way.
No worries.
well, Emery, maybe what you're getting at is like there's a way to like fingerprint a data set where you can just run it through an algorithm, and then it produces like a hash, just like gibberish strings. But you can verify that like only that data could create that hash, but then you store the hash on the blockchain. So you've kind of like, you don't have to take this whole data set and put it on the blockchain to prove that like you own it or that it happened at a certain time, but you can like intermittently kind of like push hashes to various chains, and just depending on what you're trying to accomplish.
Okay. When it comes to NFTs, there's this software company called Pinata.cloud, and that might be interesting to use for this purpose, because it would give us the freedom of not having to restrain ourselves to like one of the platforms. Like the NFT would then also be owned by the user or something. I haven't fully looked into the developer position, but it would be definitely a better solution than just sticking with OpenSea or another platform. Let me just share it in here.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a good resource.
Mm.
And also something to think about is like there's going to be people who are drawn in by the NFT, but like actually calling it an NFT. But you could use an NFT in the background and then just deliver the experience, and like and then it's there if like people want to go digging, and it's like, well, what's actually behind this? But since a lot of people are either going to be turned off by it or not really understand it, like I think that might just move to the background, and we can know about it and we can implement it that way, but not necessarily think about like promoting it as like NFTs, unless that's like the crowd that we're going for.
There might be some value though in the NFTs. You know, if people are paying for like pixelized images, then if you can have like, you know, if you turn something that's already meaningful to you into NFT, maybe you're getting some value there. And maybe that, you know, all the, and then like Web3 degens, that there's some of them who work out, obviously, you know, some people do see the light of the sun. So there's a few of them in there who would be down for sure to own that NFT.
Yeah, well, NFT partially is about flexing, is about putting this on your Twitter profile and then just showing this. Sports is partially about flexing. It's about like everybody said this is like a meditation for me, yes, but it's flexing as well. I mean, if it's meditation, you would just run by yourself without any Garmin watch, without anything registering. If it's for yourself or your meditation, nobody does it. You know, nobody runs without a Garmin watch.
Plus, Ivan, also, it's like, I think it's a kind of product that would probably have a lot of traction because it's so obsessive. Like for me, like I'm obsessed by my PBs. I'm only interested in improving them. That's all I care about when it comes to like exercise.
Yes.
No, it's a good.
And absolutely not relate, but I love to hear that from you guys that you agree. And like, it seems like we maybe have like a Strava target audience building up here.
Strava Web3 audience, yeah.
Yes.
Plus, you know, that's the product like, you want. Yeah.
Basically, ahead, you know, there's on LinkedIn, there's like the image going on, like, you know, the Web2 project, and then there's like an arrow, basically lots of icons, and then the arrow and the representative of like Web3 projects, like, you know, like Adobe.
That's how I found you.
Yeah. Oh, actually, yeah. And then I said, when I wrote like Strava and then the arrow, Bitnoom.
That's how I found you.
Strava has to pay back.
Yeah.
That's exciting. It's fun to see that we've probably found like, you know, like a use case that it's cool. We already have users. Like in this call, we had already like early users, which for so many projects is the struggle. Like you can't find someone who like really like wants to use your product.
You have to kind of make up the potential client, make up the potential user, but then the users are already there. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's been an issue, especially since in my mind, like the Re-Public app doesn't really do anything at this point. Like or everything that it does is just kind of like behind the scenes for the user. So I'm excited to like work on something where there's actual like concrete value delivered, like within, like you download it, you do this stuff, and then you get to see this stuff, and you don't have to like, you're no longer, it frees you from Strava or Garmin or whatever. I think that's cool.
Looking forward to that freedom.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much for the call. I mean, feels super nice and solid. Looking forward for the next one. I'll try to think of like kind of user scenarios from the kind of the user point of view, like what could be valuable as an end user, not from technical, obviously, standpoint.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Would we
And
like to create a channel on the server, maybe dedicated to developing this idea?
I think there is already.
Ivan, on the
that might be on the Data
Re-Public
Union
Discord?
DAO.
Oh.
Are you in the Republic Discord? You might not have gotten an invite.
It's, well, this Discord is my first experience with Discord at all. This is how shit in tech I am.
I wouldn't
here,
consider Discord being tech, but yeah, we can invite you to the Republic Discord, and then oh, there's Keith sent a link.
Yeah, there's the link.
Okay. Feel like my grandma.
it all gets to us eventually. I mean, even
Okay, what do I do now? Okay, welcome to the server Re-Public DAO.
You have to check that box that says that you give all your data to Republic.
yeah.
Okay, okay, good.
Just sell your soul.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool, so I'll create a channel at least so we can concentrate, like focus that discussion on the server, somewhere on the server.
You just made me think maybe the next one is like letting people download all their Discord info and giving some sort of like Discord behavior, like visualization would be cool. All right, friends. Well, it was great to meet you, Ivan. I'm really excited about this potential project here.
Oh, thank you so much.
Have a good
All right.
evening, friends.
Okay, we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
All right,
Bye.
bye.